All right, this meeting is called to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're at 4.2. We have no report out. I'd just like to welcome everybody and back away from the microphone. And I'll just mention now that Margie has to leave early because she lives in the snow. So she's going to leave in about an hour, and it has no significance to whoever's talking. She just has to go.
Thank you.
Okay. So 4.3, the recommended action is that the Board of Trustees approves the minutes of the study session on December 18th.
Chair Beggs, I have a change that I would like to make. Thank you. I would like on the list of bullet points to remove the second to the last one because the board actually did not discuss or approve that. So everything else, but just eliminate the second to the last bullet. So I'll second it if Darren will agree to the motion as amended.
So moved with the amended change.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of the amended recommendation? Motion? Any?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries.
I abstain.
Oh, okay.
On that,
That's right, because you weren't there. So, okay. So we will note that Margie abstains. All right, let's move to 4.4, approval of the minutes of January 9th.
So moved. Second.
The motion, okay. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no or nay. Motion carries. All right, we're up to 4.5. We have a lot of minutes today. Approval of minutes of the January 24th. No, we just did that one, right? Okay.
No, we need to do that.
We did 4.4. Okay. So now we're doing the approval of the minutes of the special meeting on January 24th.
If there's no additions or corrections, I'll move that we approve it as presented. Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed or abstentions? All opposed? No? Okay. Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries. 4.6 is public comments. Do we have any public comments? All right. So let's go on to the committee reports. 5.1 is Board Finance Committee report with Darren.
Well, good evening, everybody. The Board Finance Committee met on February the 4th, and the items that were discussed were the monthly financial update, our update on FTESs to date. We got a update and background from Susan Yeager on the District Fiscal Advisory Council. And what I'm pleased to report is, and I'm very pleased that Susan and staff have thrown a wide net, a big umbrella, including everybody in the college community, which I think is a great idea. So thank you for everyone who's participating and for the concept of that very inclusive council. So thank you, Susan, and thank you to fiscal staff for putting that all together. We got an update on the governor's budget. This was also a item of discussion, obviously, at the CCLC conference centered around the new student-centered funding formula. There was a lot of feedback, a lot of comment on it, and basically the outcome of all that discussion is that they're open to make some changes. Not right away because they want to see the data coming in, but I think they already see that there could be some problems down the road with this new formula. And then finally, we had an update on our PARS trust, and that has to do with our money that's been set aside for our OPEB liability or other post-employment benefits, the Retiree Healthcare Trust. And we're going to bring that item back for discussion probably in the fall. sometime early fall, maybe September, or whenever staff deems appropriate, to go over the assumed rate of return that we're getting on that pooled investment.
If I may, if we're going to discuss changes, it will have to be soon, because we're doing a new actuarial review.
Okay, so I'll leave it up to you and staff to let us know when we need to take that under our belt, okay? Perfect. And that's all I have. Are there any questions from fellow trustees or from those members out in the audience? I know this is riveting stuff. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
I just want to say that we have to wait for the May revise before we actually know what our budget is going to be. So.
Yes, absolutely. But we will have, we have to make some assumptions and some targets, and we do have some good indicators from the governor's budget.
Thank you. Okay, and Board Policy Committee report with Ann.
Thank you, Chair Beggs. The Board Policy and Procedure Committee met on Monday. We had a very full and long meeting. We had quite a few policies that we were going through for the first time. On your desk, you have all the changes that were suggested by the Policy Committee that Connie had little time to put together, so thank you for that, Connie. But I do want to mention that because we have a Policy Committee, those three of us that are on it spend a lot of time reading and discussing these policies, but all trustees are welcome and encouraged to, add or detract or question or any of the policies. We want input from all of you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we are up to 6.1, which is our first presentation of the evening. It's the TCO for technology, and I believe Josh Hash is going to be our presenter. Welcome.
You hear me all right?
Okay.
Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate being here to be able to present this to you. I know this is also not very riveting stuff, but I'd like to talk to you about the IT total cost of ownership plan and what it means to us. That's not working. So, as some of you may know, the total cost of ownership plan really comes from a finding that we got with our last accreditation visit. We didn't really have much time this last couple of months to put this together. We kind of got behind on it, but what it really does is addresses the. I'm sorry. This is my first time I'm being in front of all of you. I apologize.
Doing great. You're doing great.
I actually really like the illustration there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The real problem is that when we go to buy things with IT or with anything, the real cost of it is different than the product price, right? And we find that a lot of times we're not being thoughtful about that. And this plan really seeks to address that. And we find that all of these things you find on this iceberg here, that we really only see the tip of the iceberg typically, but all of these things need to be addressed. And this plan tries to address all of those things and before we go and purchase it, right? And because when we talk to salesmen, it's like, well, it only costs you this much. And we find that, well, how much is it going to host it? How much is to install it? How much is to do all of these things? And so if we can be strategic about these costs before we buy them, it would be much better. Mm-hmm. The other thing that this plan seeks to address is that when we buy different things, we may have Model A or Model B. We may have the option of self-hosting or putting it in the cloud. We may go with the manufacturer, say Dell or IBM, And sometimes it's really difficult if it's apples and oranges to tell what should we go with. And it's because sometimes we say, well, the lowest cost is what we go with, but that's the purchase price. And when we take all of those other factors that we have, addressed earlier in that iceberg, and it's different for each thing, we kind of can start to look at things as not just what costs the least, but what provides us the most value. Mm-hmm. What provides the most benefits strategically and long-term, not just short-term results. Another thing that this plan tries to address is the concept of shadow IT, where shadow IT is like one department goes out and buys this one product that's really cool and does this thing, and another one buys this product and it does another thing, but no one really sometimes talks to IT about that. Does it work with the systems that we have? Does it integrate? Does it meet the goals that we have? Do we have 5 things that do it already? And so one of the things that we really found was a problem with through this process of doing all the inventory and everything was that we'd found that there's just stuff all over the place. And so we had found that by engaging participatory governance, by empowering our technology committees, we can route some of these purchases through before they happen. We can start to talk about, well, we want to do this thing, and we engage IT and we engage the IT committees, and those committees can make sure that if something something that does affect instruction gets in front of academic senate, or if it is college-wide, it gets to college council, or if it and of course IT will be part of that. The other thing that's really big is through this process, the whole time I've been here, I've never seen this much transparency in the cost of what it takes with IT. If you look through some of those figures, you see that what it takes for some of these cloud services or software or infrastructure costs, it's easy to kind of see the cost of computers or printers, but having that transparency leads to conversations where you have with technicians and around the campus. Well, what if we go with this model, or we go with this model, or when we replace things, what about option A or B? And just that transparency of cost and accountability leads to better solutions. And so that's something that this is addressing as well. The other thing is that we had found with looking at all the resources that are in there is there's a lot of unfunded liabilities. There's things that just didn't have a replacement plan, and when there is one-time monies, or when there are resources, by having this plan in place, we can actually identify priorities. What should be replaced first? What has the most impact to students, or to access, or to college or missions, district missions or goals? And the whole thing allows us to be much more proactive than reactive. We really want this to be one piece of our strategic planning documents that we want to build from here. Some of the next steps, though, is that we really do need to dig a little bit deeper. We do need to figure out more what are the priorities for some of these things, and we need to work with DFAC and the resource allocation councils and technology committees to address this, to dig deeper into that data. While making this was a team efforts. The IT leadership team, the IT teams, both college technology committees, academic senates, college councils, and district councils all helped to make this document come to fruition. And I really appreciate how collegial and just helpful everybody was along the way. And is there any questions?
So did you discover a lot of duplication of programs that we pay licensing for?
We have found some, and so we're able to prioritize those as being projects that move forward, and hopefully take some of the cost savings from some of that to work towards filling some of the unfunded liabilities that become priorities as well. That's the plan moving forward.
I have a quick question. This is not a field that I have any expertise in, but I believe you said, Josh, that sometimes other departments buy IT equipment and don't discuss it with your department? Did I understand that correctly?
In the past, that was more the case. Recently, going through this process, the connection between IT and all of the various units, whether it be the admin teams or the division deans, we've met more with them in the last 4 or 6 months going through building this than I think that had probably been cumulatively over years. And I think what happened is it was more innocent in that you go to some conference and have this really cool thing for the division, and they put it in, and it grows to be something bigger a lot of times, or you know, just IT may be really busy. We can go with this cloud provider. We don't need to bother them, you know. And we don't see as much of that now, but we are dealing with the consequences of years of that happening. But a lot has happened in the last couple of months to mitigate that through this planning process.
That's good. Would it be helpful if other places, departments wanted to purchase an IT product that it needed to be signed off by IT?
So yeah, we also are working with purchasing so that if anything does come through, like printers, desktops, laptops, anything IT related, if they don't see IT's name on it somewhere, the quote was generated by it, it was in the signing path, they'll flag it and check with the IT managers and make sure that that it was approved. And through this process, we are also wanting all major stuff to go to the college technology committees before even any of that happens as well, so that it can also get in front of academic senate or whoever might be a stakeholder, because that shadow IT happens to more than just IT. It happens to the users themselves. Like in some area may want to buy something and it may be a really great thing, but then the instructors say, what's this thing? And it's great, but nobody told us how to use it or where it came from. And so this addresses a lot of that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Josh? Yes.
I want to thank you, and I recognize that where are we without IT? It's it. And so I want to thank you, and we're so dependent on you, and glad that you're doing this process. My question is, and maybe you said it and I missed it, when will the strategic plan, when's the goal of having that completed? Was there a timeline for that, or?
Well, the last time I think it was completed was 2011, and the plan is to start immediately on it. The senior IT director, I think, starts March 1st, so we were waiting for that position to come, and we were also really knee-deep in getting this done. So as soon as this was completed, we're hoping we've actually started on it with the management team already, but we really wanted the senior director position to be filled to carry it forward. And we're looking to use the district technology administrative council to incorporate all the voices to make that happen. And we've got a lot of support.
Excellent, thank you.
And I apologize for getting nervous. That's usually don't do that, but I appreciate you being patient with me. Yeah.
Never mind.
Well, I've said this. I've gone through this TCO plan so many times. I'm surprised I got choked up, but I appreciate the patience.
Oh gosh, I'm the last one to throw stones. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are up to 6.2, the completion agenda, with two people we saw earlier today. Thank you, Sargon. Hello.
Thank you for being willing to see us twice in one day.
Ditto.
The presentation tonight is going to briefly try and connect some dots. We started talking earlier today in the study session about AB 705 and some of those pieces. Tonight's presentation is going to help you understand, maybe in a little more detail, how this connects to the new funding formula. Maybe clarify how the structural changes are both inspired by the funding formula, but also for the best interest of students. So, usually, all of you know within organizations, if you really honestly want to know where the priorities are, don't listen to what people say, have a quick look at their budget, because the money goes to where people want to get things done. And so the state understood that And they realized that for the longest time under our old funding formula, really the only way to get new monies was to get more students into the chairs. If you wanted to grow financially, you had to grow structurally. And as an initial concept, that's great, but it's not sustainable to grow indefinitely for an indeterminate period of time. And so realizing that not just our own district, but a lot of districts in the state were reaching the tipping point, there were some changes made and a fundamental shift.
So I got my clicker here. So I'm actually pleased. You heard Jennifer say something interesting. The state actually thought this thing through well and came up with a good idea. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
Got that.
But what they've done is they've shifted some things around. So here's how we used to do business. We would make a clicker work, or put it down. We would get some sort of funding, whether that's grants or a new program that would come from the state, and they give you the money, and then using that money, you do the project, whatever that project is. Now, even recently, we've been, he's going to play the batteries. Even recently, we've done that. Several years ago, the Student Success and Support Program came along. They gave us money, we developed a plan, then we did those SSSP projects. More recently, we've had strong workforce funding come along, and strong workforce is dollars, and you have to develop a plan, and then you go do those SSSP, or those strong workforce projects. So that's been our mentality. The fundamental shift is that we've turned it around backwards. And the state has said, let's talk about the goal of where we're trying to get. Where are we trying to arrive? What are we trying to achieve? And hence the title of our presentation tonight is The Completion Agenda. Much of what we're saying tonight is simply to introduce you to what we mean, that underlying subtext of the completion agenda. And what it really means is we're trying to improve student completion and streamline the college experience so that more students are able to make it through our programs, arrive at completion points, and move on with their lives successfully sooner. And in order to do that, we have a series of initiatives. So the things that we've been doing, and we got the money to do those plans, it's turned back around. Now we're able to look and say we have the student equity and achievement funds, and those are trying to help us achieve the goal. And the Guided Pathways program and AB 705 changes and dual enrollment are all trying to help us achieve the goal. Same things down below. We've got strong workforce. We've got adult ed block grant. We've got all the non-credit initiatives. They're trying to help us achieve the goal. And the Vision for Success, this project that we're working at both colleges to align our college goals with the statewide Vision for Success goals, is the same thing, trying to achieve that. And everything else becomes a tool. And frankly, that gives us more freedom in how we design things on the college level to just use the funds that come to achieve the end result.
So when we talk about the old and new funding formulas, as I mentioned, the old was basically funded by FTES, and there was a base allocation. Apportionment was tied directly to the numbers of students enrolled at census. You all, especially board members who've been around a while, you're very familiar with this formula, and you know how we generated more money. The problem is, and it's on the bottom arrow on that column, it caused problems like artificial inflation of our FTES annual. We had to start playing with the summer shift, where we have summer classes that could be allocated here or here, and rather than having the luxury of rolling everything into the next new fiscal year in order to maintain what was somewhat an artificially high number, we had to start splitting up that flexible number and allocating some here and here in order to meet our annual targets. That kind of growth is not necessarily strategic. It's not our district saying, who are we to our service area? What kind of programs do we need? Is there a balance of small career-oriented programs offset by the larger programs that are maybe more transfer-oriented, where we could have larger lecture? Do we have structural balance in our offerings? That's a strategic eye to growth, but we weren't funded to grow strategically. We were funded to grow as we could. Now, it's a blended formula which allows us to be rewarded for all of that growth we worked really hard to do, because most of our budget is still based on our FTES number. But the pieces that are new now and that actually point us in the right direction and toward completion. It's the supplemental allocation, which is totally based on student success metrics. I mentioned earlier in the day that it seems like all of these legislation bits are bringing all the forces together. You're going to see here where the funding formula is aligned with the Chancellor's Vision Office goals, and it's aligned to a lot of the frameworks that we're imposing and working with. Imposing is such a harsh word. The frameworks that we're establishing on both campuses to help students get into, meet their goals. So let's talk about those metrics. The metrics are that students earn degrees and certificates. Because we are a comprehensive college, but also a college that supports career readiness, we not only offer local degrees, we offer associate degrees for transfer, and we offer differing units of certificates for direct employment. Completion of momentum points, and these are transfer level math and English in the first year, which all of you after today's study session know that that's in response to AB 705, 9 or more units in a CTE area if they're a career-oriented student. And I need to find another term because I don't know anybody who graduated from college who ever said, nah, I'm okay without a job. We're all career students, right? We all want to be employed. But achieving other key outcomes, transfer to a 4-year institution. What's interesting in this metric, as far as the funding formula goes, it needs to be transferred to a UC or a CSU. So for some of our students, like our student athletes who transfer to out-of-state universities, we won't necessarily get the bonus points for those students, but we have done right by those students by preparing them well to transfer to a 4-year university. Then attaining a regional living wage within 1 year of leaving the community college.
Let me jump in on one piece there, Darren. You mentioned the funding formula from the state, the presentation that you heard, that they're working to fine-tune some of those details. One of the ones they're going to have to look at is that transfer metric, because we're not the only ones that are sending students out of state. There's online institutions, Arizona State University, for instance, that has a large presence, and students are taking that program. And they're a success story. They did our ADT program. We now have a whole setup where the ADTs feed into a number of private institutions in California. And those aren't counted as part of the metric because the official funding formula says transfer, and the goal is transfer an additional 35% of the students into CSU and UCs. But there's not enough slots at the CSU and UCs to accept 35% of 2.1 million students at the community colleges. So that needs to be, that's one of those things that we're going to see adjust over time.
And one other thing, what's interesting now is the private universities that are local have recognized the value of the associate degrees for transfer, and they realize the broad preparation that our students come with. And local private universities are accepting our ADTs wholesale, and they can walk into their 3rd year into a degree program, and they're accepting them actually more seamlessly than our CSU partners.
So strategies that we're employing, we mentioned earlier today, talked through the AB 705, some of the changes we're making there, including the co-requisite courses we talked about in math and English today. Each of our colleges is working to reform our programs through different initiatives. You'll see what we look at, our programs look a little differently. We have launch pads, and you guys are doing schools, and it's all just a local way of getting students started into their program. We're also doing a whole lot of streamlining of our curriculum at Columbia College. Both of us are working on dual enrollment opportunities so that students actually start their college program while they're in high school, can make progress through that way on the back end of it. Strong Workforce Program we mentioned earlier. We have a career center at each college now that's funded through Strong Workforce money. We're doing innovative new programs, and we're funding equipment, infrastructure, and some staffing. But again, we're using these programs to achieve the goal.
And if you'll note, we could take time and go back and connect the dots, but each one of these strategies directly links to a vision office, a vision goal, and also to a funding metric. And so what's best for the students is now honestly what we're being funded on. And so if you go back to the earlier slide, if you want to know what an institution is about, look at where they put their money. Now I think we're finally getting the money in the right place, and we're actually, it's helping us analyze our structures in a different kind of way to know how we can best staff ourselves, schedule our classes, all of those things in order to follow through on the promises that we're making to students. So if I could just say, under the AEBG, the last point, Adult Ed Block Grant, there's a link there to a video that I'm not going to take time to show you today. Polonius said brevity is the soul of wit, and I do like to be witty. So what I would like to do is I'll forward this video to Graciela, and she can send it to all of you. This is a video celebrating some work that Ruth Lumen in our EL division is doing with Afghan women and partnering with a local church. The church provides childcare and English lessons for the children, while the women are receiving language training. And it's really, I've watched it so many times, and I'm not gonna lie, every time I watch it, I get misty-eyed, because this is what education is about. This is the work that matters, and I want all of you to see what your efforts are supporting.
Closing thought is, you guys were just talking with Josh about the IT strategic plan. And that can't be its own entity on what IT wants to be. This is what we're doing now. And so we had a great meeting yesterday. The administrative team from both of our colleges got together. Our IT representatives came. We talked about where is it that we want to be as an institution on the web, where students come to, and what kind of information, what kind of a student experience should they have as a student in our district. That was the preliminary conversation to get going on this IT strategic plan, because we're going to say where we want to be, and that's us, like vision types. Well, these guys then have to say, well, how are we going to get there, and what are all the underlying pieces that they're going to have to achieve to get us there? And then they're going to be before you talking about resource allocations through the new fiscal committee as well, resource allocations to put towards getting us where we need to be to fulfill these goals. Any questions for us tonight?
So a couple things that they talked about, and with respect to the new funding formula up at the conference, and again, this was put on by people from the state chancellor's office, and they pretty much agreed after people stood up in the audience, the people that were there and made comments, that based upon that formula, there will be winners and there will be losers, because there's a set or a finite amount of money. And if one college or a number of colleges are excelling, then you're going to have to take away from somewhere else to give them that additional money. And to tie into that, they also admitted one of the things that they may have to tweak down the road is, right now, if a student graduates with an associate degree and also gets a certificate, you get to count it twice. They're already kind of seeing that, okay, that may skew and benefit larger institutions that have multiple programs and degree programs that are interlinked. So they're already admitting that they may have to change that and say, okay, colleges, you get to pick one or the other, but not both. So.
Thank you for your presentation and this information. I would love to get a copy of the slide presentation in addition to the video, which would be embedded, I guess. But two things. I love the fact that it helps marry all of the projects across the district to one outcome, well, one singular focus on student outcomes. But Brian, you had that list up there of the metrics, and one of them, the last one, was attaining a living wage job. How do you measure that? How would the college be able to measure that?
College is not able to measure it. That's a state metric. So they're coming to that data through federal reporting on Social Security income, overall tax income. So it's tied in based on a student's Social Security number. It's actually very complex. The other piece that's tricky—
They can extract that data. You're
working on trying to get there. It's not super accurate yet.
A year after they complete with us, they get a survey from which college, Jenny?
Santa Rosa.
That's for finding out if they're employed in their field. Based on unemployment data. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Mm. That's not living
So
wage.
finding out if they're
still,
employed in their field, they get a survey from another college a year after they graduate, which is kind of likely to go to spam or junk. So this is an imperfect system still, but there are strange ways of finding these things out.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we are up to our association reports. And the first one is the Student Senate Activity Report with Harlovine. Did I say that right? Thank you. I'm trying.
Good evening, members of the board. Starting with the report, ASMGC members will be holding Valentine's Day event tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. From February 19 to 21st, ASMGC members will be setting up different events for 3 days to celebrate African American Heritage Week. On February 23rd, ASMGC members will be volunteering at African American Education Conference from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and will continue to serve flow on both East and West Campus. Moreover, ASMGC has spent the last 6 months evaluating the use of student fees to enhance the activity area next to MSR. ASMGC voted unanimously to prioritize the parts of the project. We look forward to seeing this project breaking ground in the fall. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. And do we have somebody from ASCC?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Francisca Downberger, and I'm the Associated Students Director of Club Affairs for Columbia. I'm honored to be here tonight to represent the students of Columbia College. To start off, I want to say that we hosted our very first warm-up Wednesday today, which I wasn't there to attend, but I heard and saw many good reviews, where one of our Senate members and the school nurse cooked up a warm soup and cornbread for students. We are going to continue to do this every Wednesday. We are also providing a free movie night once a month. This month's movie will be educating students about Black History Month. On Thursday, February 28th, we are hosting our Midterm Madness from 6 to 9 p.m. to provide snacks and drinks to students studying for midterms. We are also getting ready for our Student Senate and Student Trustee elections. On another note, the Senate wants to point out how awesome our President and Chancellor, Dr. B and Chancellor Young, are. Columbia College was out of power for 3 days due to a huge storm that occurred. I got to cross-country ski through my backyard. Dr. B sent out very informative emails, texts, and social media alerts to keep students updated every few hours about the college. It was amazing, and I'm very, very thankful. The dorm students were unable to cook and were snowed in, so the chancellor came up to the college to provide food for them. I also want to point out that the facilities took very good care of our college and plowed all the snow and ice, making it possible to drive throughout the campus, which is no small feat. There was quite a bit of snow. Thank you for having me here. I look forward to seeing you all at our college next month. Do you have any questions?
Question for you. Do you have an update on the rock wall?
The bouldering.
Yeah.
Recently, Dr. B sent myself and my advisor, Joe Manlove, an email and asked us to make a video detailing the differences between bouldering, which is what I am championing to have on campus, and rock climbing, which is what Alex Honnold did on El Capitan. It's very different. I don't want to climb El Capitan. We made the video as a club, and we sent it to Dr. B, and he sent it to people to review.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Video is with the insurance company and is being evaluated.
That's good to hear. Okay, so next up we have CSEA, and I have a note here from Sherry Suarez. She says, my report out to the board for CSEA is that we have dates scheduled with the district to begin negotiations at the end of this month. Also, CSEA is anxiously awaiting word on a new president for MJC. Thank you for reporting this information out. So that's the extent of Sherry's report. And let's go to Alan McKissick. You're up.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you. Since I last saw you, I attended a special meeting of the board. Also attending was YFA Vice President Shelley Akiona. We sat together and waited for the main agenda item, approval or not. Thank you. Approval or not of the contract between the YCCD and the YFA. As Shelley and I sat there, it struck me that in the history of settling the contract, I had on a number of occasions thought matters were just about settled, and of course, they were not. So I told myself not to assume anything, but I did lean over to Shelley and whisper, if they approve it, should we applaud? Shelley said, okay. After a moment, I said, you have to applaud too. She said, okay. With a very businesslike demeanor, the board entertained the motion and unanimously approved the contract. However, before Shelley and I could applaud, the board broke into applause, and they all looked at us with big smiles on their faces. All that was missing from that wonderful moment was photographers. Since then, I've also met with Trustee Hinton and with Chancellor Young. I was impressed that both of these leaders were very interested in continuing the significant and obvious improvement in morale and communication in the district. When Trustee Hinton asked me, what can I do to improve the board's relationship with the faculty, my response was primarily exactly what you're doing, good listening. I would also like to commend Josh, who reported earlier, and Jenny Abbott for the way they engaged with the academic senates on the draft information technology total cost of ownership plan. They clearly explained, they answered concerns and incorporated some suggestions. The results included not only unanimous support, but a good investment in an ongoing relationship. That concludes my report, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Alan? Okay. So next up we have Academic Senate. And you guys decide who goes first. Nate goes first? Okay.
I have some remarks from Academic Senate President Nate Ryan.
Okay.
And they go as follows. Personally, on behalf of Columbia College, I would like to apologize for my absence. Tonight, the Columbia College men's basketball team is taking on the Fresno City Rams in a battle of the top two teams in the Central Valley Conference. As the athletic director for Columbia College, I cannot miss this opportunity and this important event, and I hope that all of you will faithfully cheer on the claim jumpers. There's an exclamation point right there. Columbia College is proud to report that the Academic Senate has approved the accreditation follow-up report and appreciates the hard work of all those constituencies involved in this long process. Next, several members of the Academic Senate Council will be attending the spring plenary in San Francisco this April as part of the college's initiative to further promote the professional development of its faculty and participatory governance processes. Also, the Academic Senate and Curriculum Committee has spent the past several weeks identifying guided pathway coaches. These coaches will be instrumental in looking at different disciplines in order to promote colleague-to-colleague input in promoting successful programs. And finally, the Columbia College Curriculum Committee and faculty have identified and discontinued over 100 courses between the effective dates of summer 2018 and the summer of 2019. This demonstrates the college's deep commitment to strengthening and streamlining our course offerings in order to promote student success. Thank you for your time. Nate Ryan.
Thank you, and please express our thanks to Nate. Okay, Curtis.
Good evening, trustees. Good evening, Henry. First of all, I wasn't here last month through Happy New Year. And the first thing I wanted to cover, again, because I wasn't here last time, is I want to congratulate everyone involved in negotiations for finally settling. It's certainly a different air this semester than it was last semester. Sort of a weight off our shoulders. So thank you for everyone involved. I also want to thank the trustees for inviting me to do a presentation with Nate on participatory governance. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please call us. As I started sort of making notes about what to present, it started becoming a laundry list of things that MJC is doing. And it's not just faculty, even though I represent faculty, a lot of the endeavors are a collective endeavor of staff, faculty, and administrators. So for example, the accreditation report, we had a finding on regular effective contact at our institution. We were shocked because we have excellent professional development. And we took a very layered approach over the past year to ensure that the policies and procedures and practices we put in place would satisfy the accreditors when they come later this spring. The report has had 2 readings at the Academic Senate, if I am not mistaken. It also has had a reading, not mistaken, I know it's had a reading in the College Council. I especially want to thank Jenny Abbott and Chad Redwing for sort of leading the institution in helping put together the report. The other thing we're doing, Jennifer and Brian were talking about the new funding formula. And for us, there's a fundamental process that we do in the community college, which is called program review. And traditionally, we focused on a lot of numbers. It's a long, involved process. And we're not always sure what the outcome is of those program reviews, even though in the process, it's supposed to be the basis of all decision-making at the institution from the bottom up. And we're taking the opportunity, Jenny Abbott is the co-chair jointly with me of the Program Review Committee, and with the consultation of Jennifer Sellett, our Vice President of Instruction, we've been working on how the new funding formula will affect program review and the kind of data. So today I won't make a presentation because we don't have a process, but we're trying to make it a lot more streamlined and one that actually helps us make decisions in a much more intelligent way. I mean, Josh was also talking about IT, so I think there's sort of an air of rethinking the way we do things at the institution. Last week, there's a group of us who attended the Guided Pathways Institute 5. We're one of the 20 colleges that is part of the Guided Pathways project. We were selected for already where we were. And this was the fifth meeting in the last 2 years. And I think for many of us, the one thing that we took out of that meeting was the necessity of recreating, because apparently we had one before, teaching and learning center at MJC. We still don't quite have a handle on how we would institute it, but a teaching and learning center would be the focus of professional development, the kinds of activities that really help reshape the way that we address students in this new Guided Pathways endeavor. And it could be Center for Teaching and Learning, but the acronym doesn't sound as good as Teaching and Learning Center, which is TLC, and we thought that we could brand it as TLC at MJC. So we're working also on trying to devise. We ask you, and I guess we will ask our institution as well, that once we come up with a project, that it be supported, because really we have found over the last 3 years that the best way to change culture at an institution is providing adequate professional development, accessible professional development at the institution. Today, we continued our already more than 1 year old Paving the Path presentations. As you all know, in 2020, we have projected to be finished with our Guided Pathways, at least the first iteration of our Guided Pathways at the institution. So we're moving through these. Every month we hold a Paving the Path presentation. Today we had one at the Student Center here in West Campus discussing careers. And I want to thank everyone involved there, Rob Stevenson, Tina Hiron, and again, Jenny Abbott and Dejanay as well. What's Dejanay's last name? Huh? Shelton, and Dejanay Shelton were in charge of putting it together. It was a beautiful activity. It gave us a new vision of how we present our courses and our programs and the new schools that we've created to our students so that they have immediate access to what they can do with the careers of their choices. What are the likely jobs, the outcomes, the time investment in them. So it was a fantastic activity. And lastly, I want to thank all of the trustees who have agreed to come to the Academic Senate. Some of you have already done it. I'm looking forward, I think Leslie is next. Mm-hmm. So we're looking forward to meet you. And again, Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that's why I wasn't here for the last meeting. I was on my way back to Cuba after 3 very nice days on the beach. I did bring back cigars, and I will distribute them as promised.
Oh, that's what that was about.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll skip the cigar.
And Jim, you're up next, I think. LTAC has no report, so.
Thank you. I'm Jim Solomon, President of the Yosemite Faculty Association. First of all, I want to thank the board for approving the tentative agreement last month. As you may have heard, the faculty ratified it overwhelmingly with strong support, so we're very pleased to get that passed us. I also, before I go into the rest of my report, I wanted to reiterate, I was contacted by one of the Columbia College faculty colleagues of mine, and they were mentioning how much they really appreciated Chancellor Young making a special trip to go up to Columbia, with taking food up there to the students. They were really impressed with that. So just wanted to say thank you, and we're very thankful that you did that. So we have a very busy semester to do in the YFA. Part of the tentative agreement, as I'm sure you're aware, is setting our class capacity determinations, and so that's for the entire district, and so and we have a deadline of May 10th. So to be done by May 10th, we set it up as much as possible, kind of a not hard and fast benchmarks, but theoretically we would have about 25% of our class capacities done by February 10th. I actually have no way of checking that now because we started this, it took about a week or two to kind of get a process together. And so we sent that out. I've been doing these weekly newsletters to the faculty about the process. We have a fillable form, a PDF form that the faculty have to fill out. We've talked about the process. I've broken it down to 8 simple steps. Do this, do this, do this. And so we've tried to make that very simple. It involves 2 faculty representatives from each discipline and 2 administrators. And then those 4 individuals for each discipline will go over the list of courses and determine those class capacities. So theoretically, we would have 25% of our courses done by February 10th, but I'm not really sure where we are with that. I'll have a better idea for the March board meeting. We have a representative council meeting next Wednesday, and so we should be getting some feedback about where people are. We have a very structured system in the YFA where we have these phone trees, and so the reps are responsible for their areas, and then the areas have to report back, so we should be getting pretty good track of what's going on. So our goal is to have 50% done by March 10th. I think we'll be a little bit closer along the way as we've kind of started this up. By April 10th, we'd have 75%, and then by March 10th, we'd be completed. My understanding is as when we talked about this in negotiations, if there's any straggler courses that were not done yet, I think we're looking at creating a 1-day get your class capacities done day in Oakdale. Meet your dean and work this out and try and get this done in one shot for any leftovers that aren't done by then. And if there's anything not done by the 10th, then the rest of it goes to negotiations on May 15th. So I'm I've pleaded with the faculty who said they really wanted to have input. Please, it's in your hands. Make sure that this gets done, because on the 15th, we don't want to look at 1,000+ courses to have to determine. But regardless, it'll be done by May 15th, and then it gets implemented this fall. So a lot to do, but I think we can get this done. So I've been sending weekly newsletters. The last 2 newsletters in particular have really focused on the process and trying to answer questions. Some people, I think, are doing their best to get this done, but I think have kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and so they submitted a form, but they didn't go through the process, and so we're like, no, you have to redo it, and so we're trying to get this done correctly. I've also had a conference call with the Columbia administration to talk with the administration about the process so that we're all on the same page. I've also met with the Dean's Cabinet at MJC to do the same. I know they've had meetings with Columbia as well, so they're organizing ideas as well. And then I've been trying to keep Chancellor Young updated about what we're at and what we're doing, so that he knows that we're staying on top of this. And then obviously my goal is every month I'll let you know where we're at. If I can get some sort of a number, what percentage we're at, if I'm able to determine that, I'll let you know that. I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet, but I'll do my best to give you some sort of a gauge of how we're progressing on this every month. So that's the goal. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we're up to President Collins.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm struck by how much of what you've heard so far this evening is about the amazing amount of change and activity going on at the MJC and Columbia. And it strikes me that the scope of that degree of change is really kind of astounding. In fact, when I wrote you my letter for this particular month, I listed a lot of those things. And I actually felt kind of exhausted after I made the list, because so much energy has gone into that, and it has been so collaborative. And a lot of that was going on in all of that collaborative way in the middle of difficulties in labor and management. And it's a real tribute to the qualities the work staff and faculty do. That so much good is happening all at the same time, and instruction is still going on in spite of that. It's just remarkable. I want to touch on 3 items tonight that are included in the list of activities for the upcoming weeks that I was presented to you tonight. One of them, I want to highlight 3 of them. One of them relates to an interesting event in the past. One of them relates to a fascinating activity that's going on right now. And one of them points in the direction of the future. The first I want to talk about is the art gallery show that's scheduled for February 12th through March 7th. It's a display of a collection of lithographs by probably the most famous Native American artist of all time, R.C. Gorman. And we have owned that portfolio since sometime in the mid-'80s, when I was Dean of the Arts, Humanities, and Communication Division. And the story of how we got that portfolio is just a really interesting one. There was a young lady who was an artist who happened to come from a very wealthy family, who was kind of going from school to school. She would hear that there's a really good sculptor teaching at someplace, and she'd go there for a semester and study with that particular artist. And she heard that Dan Peterson, faculty emeritus from our art department, was a superb watercolor instructor, and so she decided to come to MJC for 1 semester. And I didn't know this was going on, by the way, while I was dean. She was just another student on campus. And at the end of, I believe it was, my memory's a little foggy, at the end of the fall semester that year, we got a notice saying, you're going to receive a portfolio of R.C. Gorman works. Well, it turns out that this young lady who took Dan Peterson's course was the daughter of a man who was an early patron of R.C. Gorman's. picked him up when he was just literally almost a starving artist, and supported him and encouraged him, and was a patron. And Gorman, after he became successful and opened his own gallery and was well known, as a token of his appreciation, gave this gentleman a group of portfolios of some of his early works. And when his daughter would call him and say, boy, this was really a good experience, why don't you give this school one of those portfolios? And we were given this portfolio. It had only been on public display once before in the gallery right after we received it. Some of the Gorman works are scattered a little bit around the district office and the MJC office, but the whole thing is going to be put together and put on display in that time in February and early March. Just a remarkable story, and I guess a great example of a surprise gift that you got just because we did something right. The second thing I want to talk about is the event that points to the future. And each of you received an invitation this evening to an event on March 5th, which is going to mark the signing of a memorandum of understanding between Modesto Junior College and Stanislaus State University. That is going to, I think, remarkably affect the quality of the relationships between our two institutions. The MOU essentially guarantees admission to our students who complete a Associate of Arts transfer degree, and it is going to place an academic advisor from Stanislaus State on our campus who will be constantly available to serve the needs of students who are planning to transfer from MJC to Stanislaus State. In some ways, I guess the change from being a pirate to being a warrior is not much of a change. You just change the media on which you battle, I guess. But it's called the Warriors on the Way initiative, and we're very pleased that that is going to take place. And you're all invited, and we hope you come. The other event I want to point to is the Guitar Festival, which takes place between February 27th and March 2nd. What's remarkable about that event, I think, is the breadth of the partnership that's involved in putting that together. Look at the co-sponsors: CSU Sacramento, CSU Stanislaus, University of the Pacific, San Joaquin Delta, and Modesto Junior College, all collaborating to put on a really remarkable musical event, which is hosted on our campus. And that's just the sign of the kind of partnerships we're trying to work at every level as we try to fulfill the goals of the Yosemite Community College District. And that is the end of my report, except to say that this is going to be the last of these reports that I give. And I want to again thank the board for giving me the opportunity to have the really good experience I've had being president of MJC for about 7.5 or 8 months. So thank you. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Shantanu.
Good evening, trustees. Good evening, Chancellor Young, colleagues from up and down mountains and flatlands, students. When Francisca mentioned that we are preparing for the midterm, it seems like we just started the semester and we're already talking about midterm. I mean, time really goes quick. A few things. On January 15th, we hosted our high school partners from Tuolumne and Calaveras counties. The meeting focused on identifying key elements of a successful partnership. What do we need from mutual sides? Identifying the needs of different schools and exploring potential solutions. Do we have any model partnership already built and we can extend those kind of things across in both the counties? High schools from Calaveras County appreciated the concept of using technology to reach out to them, as they rarely have 25 to 30 students in a class. So they would never have a brick and mortar class and a faculty member standing in front of that. But if we can have technology-enhanced classrooms where there is a video instruction reaching out to them, that brings us the economy of scale and reach out education to those areas. So they were very appreciative of that idea. and how we can enhance our dual enrollment programs in those areas in order to provide the pathway for their students. Thereafter, since Calaveras County is not necessarily in our backyard, it mostly belongs to Delta College, I had a meeting with President Kathy Hart from Delta College and her team proposing a mutual agreement, because I've been trying to work with Kathy for quite some time now, saying that if you do not come to this area, how about we go to this area? And whenever you plan to come here, we'll come back. We don't have any problem. They're kind of reluctant to sign an MOU, but this meeting we kind of broke the deadlock. We said that, how about we plan out what are the courses required at Calaveras County, and then if we do that 1 year in advance, we can just check out from the list. These are the courses that Delta takes. These are the courses that Columbia takes. So there is no stepping on each other's toes or creating capacity that would be detrimental to one of us. We can mutually just go ahead and expand on that 49 corridor. On January 24th, we visited a potential classroom site in Amador County. If you look at the Amador County geography, it is kind of about 50 miles from where we are. It goes across Calaveras County. Amador County is a truly education desert, belongs to no one. They have something called Amador College Connect, and those people connect with Coastline Community College, which happens to be in Southern California, about 370 miles out. One of the reasons of success of Coastline is Coastline does not offer a single course, but they offer a complete program of studies. So students can complete a degree or certificate without leaving Amador County. We are trying to do is foster our relationship with Amador Connect. We already have a strong relationship with Jackson's Ranch area. So Jackson's Ranch area is building this building whereby we are going to be one of the tenants, along with Mother Lode Job Training, who is already a strong partner from us, Amador Connect, and Amador Tourism. The whole idea is, again, we would equip that classroom with technology so we can have the video-based instructions out there. It would be a two-way communication. We can even use that as our node and transmit the class into our main campus also, so students can interact with the faculty members from time to time. This classroom should be ready from this fall onwards. So that's what we are working. We are working with our IT team. We are working with our facilities team to see that how exactly this facility needs to be built so that we can extend our partnership and reach out to Amador County. My objective is to push out Coastline Community College from Amador County, because there is a large number of, and if you really think about it, Jackson is as big as our town as Sonora in terms of population. So if you're talking about FTES, we should not be talking about 5 or 10 or 20. We can expand to a much higher degree in case we can provide an effective educational opportunity in that part of the state. It depends on us how we build the programs and not just individual courses going out every semester. We were supposed to have an exhibition come sale of paintings by our inmate students on February 7th. Did not happen because of the snowstorm. If you have an opportunity of coming up there, those are displayed in our Manzanita corridor. Please come up and see what kind of work they are doing. These are the inmates in the correction system, and under the guidance of our faculty members who are offering classes, they have those paintings out there. I personally want to buy some of those, and I'm really impressed. And we're proud of the kind of work that they're doing. It's a testament to our faculty members as well as the students' commitments. This week was some good news from our foundation. We have reached about 88% of our $270,000 goal for the promised partnerships. So we are at $237,000 as of now. It was a 3-year goal. We received a $33,500 donation from an alumnus, and we have received the first check of $5,000 from Chicken Ranch Casino. This was another breakthrough that they never participated with us in terms of donation. So once they start opening their wallet, we are hoping that we have better opportunities of partnering with them now, because now we have competing casinos. We have Black Oak, we have Chicken Ranch, and we have Jackson's Ranch area. So we'll see who spends more money. It's like gambling for us. We're also co-hosting a nationally known Native American storyteller, Davi Thomason, who will be talking about boarding schools history for Native Americans. That event is happening on March 14th at 6:30 Thursday. So if you are in the area, you're welcome to join us for that occasion. Lastly, I have to talk about the back-to-back snowstorms that we hit us, and that really demonstrated to me that the last 7 months that I have been there, what was spirit of Columbia. When Chancellor Henry Young brought some food, you do not have any idea of what we're talking about. I was in Manzanita, so Henry came up. First of all, I just asked him that, do you have a four-wheel drive? He said, oh, I have four-wheel drive and chains, and don't worry about it. That was 9:20 in the morning. 11:20, he's still not up there. And I'm thinking, has he gotten stuck somewhere? What happened? He comes in, he says, hey, I got some food. Can you give me a hand? I go out, I'm good enough, I'll just pick up some boxes. And he says, no, get some more students. He opens the back of a Toyota Highlander. The whole thing is full of food. It was like, I do not know how many stores you went to and picked up all of those supplies from there. 3 stores. Facilities, Judy Lanchester was continuously in communication with Jake. Jake and his crew, our facilities crew, did an amazing job. They started the day at 4 o'clock in the morning, scraping snow, clearing the icebox, and all those things. Trevor and I got really close now. I'm Trevor's trusted calling list because I used to call him at 5:30. He takes calls at that hour only from his wife and kids. Now he recognizes my number also. What you said, Francisca, all the communication that went out, that was not me sending it, that was Trevor. And he also organized, when we went out to the hostel, there were 87 students who were stranded there, no electricity, no food, kind of cold. So Trevor reached out to one of our staff members, Anthony. He came up, made some sandwich and all that. Then we had a pizza party. Trevor got some pizza with ranch dressing and all that stuff. So the fancy pizza party. And next day, Dr. Sanders comes, and he gets Dawn, our faculty members, Dawn and Marcus. And they have a delicious meal out there. They have pasta going in and soups going on. And they had like really great parties out there. So it was a collective effort. But the way the campus community came together, it was faculty members, it was staff, it was administrators, everyone coming together and taking care of the students, that was really heartwarming. And I sincerely thank all of them for coming together in such a great way. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just an update, we are 28-21 down at halftime. I'm just exchanging notes with Nate because the game is going on. It's a big game for us. So 28-21, not too bad. Yeah. Sorry.
Excellent. Okay, Chancellor Young.
Thank you. We are accepting nominations for the State Board of Governors Annual Classified Employees of the Year Award. And I'd like to put out a reminder. Let's look at our classified staff and nominate individuals that we think merit the award and have a good pool to consider for this prestigious award. Second, I'd like to mention that I had a meeting with Dr. Steve Reynolds, the Vice President of YCCD, this afternoon. I'm glad to announce that he will be embedded with the team that will be coming next month. And we believe that there will be a good outcome. He is committed to providing support to make sure that our 2 colleges, benefit from this process of self-improvement. So I really thank him for making the trip today. We had planned the meeting quite a while back, but today, the weather, it's terrible. He had to drive all the way from Novato to here, and it was very heavy, and for a while I didn't think he was going to make it, but he did. So great meeting with Dr. Reynolds today. Last, I just want to mention that this past Tuesday was the first day of the Lunar New Year. It's the year of the pig, and to our
staff, employees, and students who celebrate that. I wish you all Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have a bond update, and I understand that Ron Martin is going to be updating us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Manchester couldn't be here tonight. You've got. I'm Ron Martin with Kitchell. I've been here for 13 years. For those of you who don't know me, I've not been in front of the board very many times. Anyway, I'll get right to it. We have not too many projects going on right now because the bond is winding down. First off, we have El Capitan cladding, Great Valley Nature Lab, and the Juniper building up in Columbia. And I'm not doing this right. There we go. So this is what El Capitan looks like currently. Pretty run down, 40, 50 years old. It's all wood slatting. Doesn't have a great accessibility. So this is a rendering from the architect of El Capitan. It's going to look very similar to the Tenaya building and I'm sorry, the big building, the 1 acre, the pavilion. Oh. Yes, sorry. Sorry, I don't do this very much either. Go, Josh. It will have accessibility added to it with a ramp for DSA. This is the outdoor education behind the Science Community Center. It's called the Science Outdoor Ed. There is a lot going on here. It's intended to be done by the end of February, primarily. Wow. There's a greenhouse. There's a lot of landscaping left to do. Some vernal pools, some dig pits there in the front that you see. They'll have some fossils down in there covered by sand. It's going to look very cool. The contractor's very excited too. So all of them are very excited because it's a unique project, and I certainly haven't done one before. This is Juniper. After it's been a math building, now it's going to be high tech. So this worked out very well. This project was completed in December on time, and it's functioning right now as high tech. Anyway, that's all I have. My apologies. Any questions? Oh, we have future projects. I'm sorry. Ace Equipment Facility is going to be out here right by the pavilion. Painting West Campus, we have some painting started. We have a few more projects to do. El Capitan is actually on the same plane as painting. Parking lot 201, which is right outside of the John Muir. And we're going to do one final project in Columbia, which is basically wayfinding. And I think we've attempted that 2 or 3 times over the course of the last 13 years. Any questions? End of slideshow. Anybody have any questions? I'm screwing this all up.
And you're still on the Great Valley Museum. Who is? Nancy's. Are they going to have a tour of the new outdoor ed for us when it's done? Okay. I'd be really interested.
They are going to do a little student planting out there. We've quadrued off a section and flagged it, so the students are going to be able to go out there and actually dig the holes and plant some of the plants.
Oh, that's great.
Going to occur sometime in March, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think we're moving to the consent agenda.
You have the grant activity report.
Grant activity first. Sorry, I had to stick them in the way.
So this is just the grant activity between December 13th and January 9th, and if there are any questions.
Are there any questions? So this is just for information purposes only? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if we don't need a motion, then let's move on to the consent.
Before I move to accept the consent agenda, I would like to recognize Barbara Wall for 15 years of service as a student service representative. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll move we approve item 7.2 through 7.13.
I'll second that.
Yes, Ann.
I would just like to make a comment. It's a repeat of what I said last month, and I'm sort of talking to Jim Salmon. So we have MJC sabbatical reports this time, and some of them give plenty of information about what the project is, others don't. I'm still thinking that the people applying don't know what the board sees, and so I'm hoping I know it, have to be careful because it's a negotiated item, but if we have some sort of short study session presentation, I would look forward to that to say what I'd like to see, and I think it would be helpful to those applying and get a folder of good write-ups for a sabbatical, so in the future.
Call for the vote.
Okay, so Abe has made the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
You seconded it? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries. So we are up to 8.1, second reading, and we were very busy this last time, and we were very busy the time before. We are going to recommend some policies go to a third reading. But did we want to have Connie talk to us first and then make that motion, you think?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. So let's invite Connie up. Welcome.
Good evening, Board and Chancellor, Cabinet. Good evening. Okay, so we are looking at what is on your agenda, the second readings noted in 8.1. We are looking at 2010 board membership, and at each one of your places, you of course have these documents that have red, bold language. So the changes that were recommended on this policy, first, line 18, to add in the word elected office. So that would make that phrase incompatible elected office. And then to strike...
Excuse me, what would you classify as incompatible?
Incompatible would be, for example, lines 20 through 22. There's new legislation that says an incompatible office, for example, would be someone who's serving on a governing board of a high school district, whose area lies fully or partially within the Yosemite Community College District. So that would be an incompatible office.
But there are others.
It's actually really a minor thing, but on the second page, on item 10 and 11, it says the agenda review for the board chair only. That means I don't have to go in the future as vice chair.
On line 10, yeah. I think that's 11. 10 and 11.
I'd be happy not to go. I'm just. Would you say? Because as it is now, it's board chair, vice chair, and past chair.
I think that's the preview. I don't think that's the same as what this is talking about.
Yeah, this is talking about developing the agenda, you know, like things that we want in the future on the agenda. And what you and I do is the agenda preview where it's already been printed and we're just going over it. So you're always welcome.
Clarification, that's all.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure so that if I don't attend, I won't get knowledge. Thank you.
So for 2010, those were the changes recommended. Any additional comments there? On 2340, moving on, we did have a comment with regard to lines 10 and 11. So thank you for that clarification and discussion. And then on line 26, an item appeared on the agenda of, and we kind of took out that phrase and added recess to make it, to clarify. An item appeared on the agenda of a recess meeting held not more than 5 days earlier. So hopefully that provides clarification. And then recommendations for revisions were also made for the administrative procedure, and there we added in some additional government code sections that were already listed on the policy. Additional comments there? Okay, I'll move on then to the next one, 2345, lines 10 through 12. The paragraph was added. This is already a part of each month's agenda, but the board members of the committee felt that it was important to also add this language: individuals who require disability-related accommodations or modifications, including auxiliary aids and services, in order to participate in the board meeting should contact the Office of the Chancellor at least 24 hours prior to the start of the meeting. And the catalyst to that is the note that you see on line 17, where we talk about the CCLC provides guidance that translator services can be made available, and a person would have at least twice the allotted time to a member. And so if those services are needed, then the idea would be that a person would contact the Chancellor's office and try to get that accommodation. The other change that we made to that is in the page 2, line 18, added an additional code, government code section. Any additional comments there?
Just, we changed shall to should because we were
sorry.
told that legally we can't require it.
That's on line 5, page 2. Sorry, I missed that one. All such written communication should be dated and signed by the author and shall contain the residence or business address of the author and authors.
Didn't we change take out that shall, the second one?
What line are you on?
I'm on line 5.
On what policy are you on?
Yeah, sorry, it's not
Same
showing
one.
the little line.
2345?
You're right.
Didn't we? Yeah.
So it's not showing the little. Yeah.
It's not struck out on mine because legally we can't demand it. So
then it reads, all such written communication should be dated and signed by the author and contain the residence.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And any additional comments on that? We got all of those. Okay, 2735, board member travel. Line 8, wanting to strike out directed by the. So the sentence would read, members of the board shall have travel expenses paid whenever they travel as representatives of and perform services in fulfillment of their roles and responsibilities as a board member. And then there was a recommendation on the administrative procedure. The administrative procedure could have been adopted as a good practice. It is not legally required. It's not legally advised. And so discussing it in the board policy committee, it is stated in the policy, line 31, standard district travel procedures will be used even when trustees travel. And so trustees at the committee agreed that that is something that they want to do, is be on par with the staff and everyone else who travels on district business. So there would be no need for an administrative procedure. Okay. And those were all the revisions that I recall from the board policy committee on that slate.
Yes, and if you have leaves here on 7340, we just changed line 34. Instead of employees, we said non-teaching employees, because teaching employees don't get vacation. So I'd recommend that that these come back for a third reading next month.
Right.
But I think this board is ready to adopt the travel 7,400 tonight.
So would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll move that we adopt for a second reading the travel policy of 7,400.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay. All right. What's next, Connie?
We are on to first readings, and we did not have any recommended changes to 5012 international students. So if there are any comments there, certainly have those. Moving on then to 5035, withholding of student records. Recommended revision on the administrative procedure in line 16 to strike through the words subsequent term. So would read, a hold will be placed on a student's academic record and registration. Comments there? Okay. I had nothing on 5045 transcript records or on 5052 open classes. So if there are any comments on those. Okay, I'll move on to 5055 registration priorities. No recommended revisions to the policy. Oh, yes, just recommended revisions to the administrative procedure. Line 7, replace the word registration with enrollment to be consistent with the change to the title. And then on line 14, add the word active for clarification. So previously it read any member or former member of the armed forces, but for clarification, it would now read any active member or former member of the armed forces. And then again, adding that word active on line 16 to any active member. So those were the changes recommended to the administrative procedure. Okay, and 5075, I had nothing from the board policy committee. 5120, same. No recommended revisions at this time. And then moving on to 5130, financial aid. No changes recommended to the board policy, but changes were recommended to the procedure. Line 6, it's not in red because it's a hyperlink. So automatically a computer puts it in blue. So line 6, the request was to add a hyperlink for the Modesto Junior College Financial Aid webpage and also the Columbia College Financial Aid webpage. So that was done. It's a hyperlink. It's in blue, but that is a change.
Thank you.
And on to the last one, 5140. DSPS. Oh. That one. DSPS, we had previously seen a recommendation to remove the acronym DSPS from the title, and committee members thought that that was helpful, and so they requested that it be kept in.
But if anybody wants to object, we can change it back. It was just, we thought it clarified things.
It's not a hill to die on.
So one thing I do want to go over is my papers actually fell out, and so that's why I didn't go over the leaves one in the first slate with the second readings, and I did have one for travel, so I put them back in order by number, which is why it wasn't in first and second. So on travel, going back to that, and it's already been discussed, but I did want to say that there was a recommendation for a change to the procedure. And that was in page 4, line 2, that would read, an employee will be reimbursed for miscellaneous business expenses with appropriate receipts. Then we go on and we talk about short-term parking and so on. Then on line 6, we add specific exemptions, i.e. availability of self-park option, mobility, safety. Those are the specific exemptions, types of them. May be made to reimburse for valet parking with manager approval.
So then, should I request to remove the motion I made and adopt?
Well, the board doesn't approve procedures, so you don't.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to change your motion, but I just wanted to make sure that that was on record.
Yeah. And just the explanation was that sometimes you're at a conference where you don't feel safe self-parking on the street far away from where you're going, and so we thought valet would be judged reasonable in those situations.
That is all I have for first readings. Were there any other comments on any that we did or didn't discuss?
Excuse me, I don't have a comment on any of the policies that we discussed. I'm just a general comment on policies. So when we were at the CCLC conference, and the president of CCLC was a guest speaker, I don't know, at the dinner, right?
Yes.
At the dinner. So it was rather interesting, and I know, Connie, you've kind of mentioned this in the past, but it struck me as interesting given your prior comments. He said that he recognized that part of board's responsibility is to develop policy, but that the league is here to help you develop policy because that's part of what they do. And that if you adopt the league's policies, it will, quote, help you with accreditation. Those were his comments.
They do a lot of background and put together the policies with the perspective of accreditation standards. So I could understand those comments.
And yet we heard today at our study session that there are a lot of schools that are not community colleges that are evaluated and accredited by YCCD. So their standards have to encompass not only California community colleges, but other private schools. So they won't have these policies, and it shouldn't count against them.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Connie.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we are up to the quarterly report on the district's financial condition with Dr. Yeager. I think. No, not Dr. You're not Dr. Yeager.
No, Dr. Schrader. Good evening, trustees, chancellor. This evening before you is the second 311Q report. That's our quarterly report that's required by the state chancellor's office. So this is for the activity through December 31st, 2018. For those trustees that this is a new document, this is required by our Board of Governors each quarter. However, recently they changed that to where we do not have to do the fourth quarter report because we have an annual report that's due shortly after that. So you will not get a fourth quarter report this year. So just kind of going over the standard template that the Chancellor's Office provides, the first section shows you the unrestricted general fund activities for the revenue and expenditures. It has our adopted budget, which is also our current budget. It shows our year-to-date actuals for the revenues and expenditures, and then it also shows you the projections. So we've reported our revenues and our expenditures as of December 31st, and we are projecting that we will be spending all of our expenditures that we had to budget and receiving all of our revenues. So that is the first section of the report. The second part is the attendance, so the FTS reporting. To date, we have decided that for our P1 reporting, we were going to report the 16,542 target that you guys have heard. However, this number may change as we are having conversations about our FTS and what that will look like going into the future. So this number may change on the next quarterly report you receive. The third section shows you our cash balance as of December 31st. We did have almost a $45 million cash balance, so we are in a strong fiscal cash position, and that's good for us. Now, please keep in mind that for December, we do receive our apportionment revenues, but we have our holiday break, so we do not disperse funds for vendors for about 2 weeks of that time, and then also payroll does not disperse until January. So that number is artificially high at December and goes down in January. For part 4, it asks if we had any district settlements during the quarter. We did not, but you will have information in this next quarter because of the agreement with the faculty in January. On the second page, it also asks us if we have any significant events in the quarter in terms of audit findings, issuing new debt. We did not have that this quarter. And then it also asks us to address any fiscal problems at this time. We said no because we do not foresee any. The third page of your attachment is one of our attachments that we use internally, and it's also familiar to our board finance committee members. This kind of shows you more information, a little bit more detail in terms of what's going on with our revenue, the types of revenue we receive into our general fund, as well as our expenditures. So a few things I wanted to point out to you guys is for our state apportionment, we are slightly above half of budget. But that all comes in on timing based off of the enrollment fees we receive, our property taxes from our county, and the state chancellor's office's schedule for disbursements of the state apportionment. So we don't have any control over those funds. So, but we've received over half. So we're projecting that we're going to still receive all of it. Our non-resident tuition is a little bit higher this year from last year because we did increase the rate by $24 a unit from prior year to this year, so that's why that's a little bit higher. Our interest is actually trending a little bit higher, which is interesting because all of our funds for the unrestricted general fund are housed in the county. At this time last year, we were only receiving 1%, now we're receiving 2%. So getting a little bit more on our interest income for that. Another item I wanted to share with you is the CalSTRS on behalf. You'll see a CalSTRS on behalf line item that's budgeted for $2.5 million in revenue, but also $2.5 million in expenditures. So the net impact is 0. You won't see anything in this line item until our June 30th timeframe because this is a calculation that's done based off of total STRSable payroll that's happening throughout the fiscal year. So this is an internal calculation that will be posted as of June 30th. For the designated lottery, don't be alarmed. It does say we've only received 1% as of December 31st. However, that was because the state controller's office was not dispersing funds because they were having issues with the receipting and then dispersing out of lottery funds. So those monies actually came in January, and we have actually received almost 60% of our budgeted lottery dollars in January. In terms of expenditures by location, we're trending on target, so we don't see any big fluctuations in terms of our expenditures. For our transfers out and contingencies, that is the line item where we housed our one-time initiative dollars that we have to allocate to the colleges as well as district office, and also the money that was set aside for the total compensation proposals with the faculty agreement. Now that we have the agreement and we are working towards getting those funds dispersed out, we are working on providing you guys with an amended budget soon so that that contingency line item drops down to the 1.9 million and the rest of it goes up to the appropriate allocations and to the location. Any questions related to 311Q? Thank you.
Okay, so I need to hold an open hearing on the quarterly report. So are there any comments or questions? I want you guys to surprise me sometime, just for fun. Okay, so I'm going to close the hearing. So do I need a motion to accept it now? Yes? Okay, so may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the quarterly financial report and direct staff to submit a copy of the required report to the California Community College's Chancellor's Office.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, that takes care of 8.3. 8.4 is the Columbia College accreditation report. We are conducting a first reading. Are there any comments about the report or questions?
I have some.
Okay, go for it.
All right, thank you. On the Columbia College report on page 8, it says that Columbia College is working to remodel a hospitality management facility at Modesto Junior College and offer classes there. I was just wondering where that was on MJC. On West Campus.
Public Safety Security Office. It's the former Culinary Arts facility from Modesto Junior College.
Okay. Okay.
The nursing program that has facility at Columbia College. That's actually MJC classes running there. We're going to have that opposite direction.
Okay, that sounds good. And then I do have some comments on page 18, and this page 18 is the same for Modesto. It's page 23 on the Modesto report. Just a few comments and a few questions and requests. The last sentence in the first paragraph is saying that the college will report out to the board on progress on the parking issue in future board meetings. Good, good, I'm looking forward to that. And then in number 3 on out-of-state travel, it says that on line 1, 2, 3, 4, since that time, the chancellor has improved reporting on staff travel, and the district is implementing a new software system effective January 2019 to provide timely and relevant reports to the board. I don't think that date's accurate because we haven't gotten one yet.
When will we get one?
Okay, that's good to know. The only other thing, and I'm not the one to make the decision on it, but when you are talking about the out-of-state travel, I kind of wish that you would include the information that the board was supposed to get a monthly travel report for over 15 years, and we never got it. And that was certainly an interest of the board to have some transparency, and that's why they originally wanted to see more travel. I think it would be nice to include that, but I'll leave that decision up to you. You don't have to comment on it, but the last thing I want to change for both schools, if you look at the line above number 4, the board approved the change upon its second reading on February 13th.
Tonight's the first reading.
No, it was the second reading.
Tonight's the first reading for the board reports, and then you folks have a special meeting for next Tuesday.
On travel, though, we gave the first reading.
This is the referring to. Oh, okay. Wait.
Policy.
Got it. Yes, ma'am. We'll fix it.
Okay, and Modesto too, because we passed the second reading tonight. But it's a lot of good work, and I thank you for it, and I just would like you to consider those comments.
Yeah, I second what she said, and I was pleased.
I feel very strong about the report. I feel like between the TCO plans and the board action item that we worked on, everyone has put in honest and significant effort and has demonstrated the progress that the commission was looking for. So it feels really good.
Yeah, and I think overall we're seeing more transparency just throughout all of our talks today. It's very good.
That is the goal. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your comment.
Okay.
Okay, so we are on, I lost my place here. The recommended action, okay, so this is our first reading, so we don't need to take a motion on that. So, MJC, who's handling that? Jenny, thank you.
So our report, we have tried to mirror the report for the district findings with Columbia so that they're similar. We do have an additional finding for the college on regular effective contract in distance education, which I hope you've seen. I would echo Brian's comments that there's been incredible work from the college on that, as well as the district recommendations.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Jenny? Okay.
Yeah.
So again, this is our first reading. And as I said, we appreciate all the work that's gone into this. So we are now up to 8.6, the Columbia College and Careers Pathways Partnership Agreement, the second reading. Are there any comments on that? If there are not, the recommended action is that we conduct the second reading, and I need to know if there are any comments from the public on this. Are there? Okay. So I need a motion to approve the CCAP then.
Second.
Okay, Dooling seconds. Nancy or Abe? Nancy, okay. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? All right. We're good to go. So I believe we are up to board comments. You want to go first? You haven't spoken yet tonight. You know, mine wouldn't turn off, so. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Since our last board meeting, I have attended monthly ASMJC Senate meetings, and I also met with Chancellor Young and had the opportunity to volunteer and attend this month's Positive People Speaker Series, which was very empowering. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Nancy.
Okay. This last month, I attended the Stanislaus County Office of Education for their decathlon. I think we have some great high school students that'll be coming through, hopefully to our college in the future. I've met with some of you and have enjoyed getting to know some a lot better, and I've been looking through some past videos that have been on the computer through YouTube and others to try and get reacquainted with some of the stuff that I've heard about. I missed the last Great Valley Museum meeting due to a car issue, but I would like to say that they are planning a casino night this next month, and we'd love to have your participation in it as a fundraiser. I've met with the Chancellor, and I think appreciated the time that he spent with us, but I also think it was a great thing between our Chancellor here and the President, Santanu, up at Columbia to make sure that the students up there were taken care of during the